Hello and welcome to the
Yo.
Comedian's Paradise. This is the podcast where we speak to some very
Hey.
unique characters from across the comedy world, those that will inspire us and shock us with their unique and fascinating stories. Now, the next guest is the Don of the Luxembourg comedy scene. His name is Carlitos. Like Carlitos' way, he is an absolutely magnificent fellow who you can absolutely love. Please welcome Carlitos.
Yay. Hey, that was a lot of expectation you're putting on your audience there. I don't know if I'm that great, but cool.
Oh, well, it's better to have a big expectation than have some of the intros where MCs give you a funny nickname before you go on stage.
Oh, well, I haven't done that yet. Maybe I should start.
Are you going to start with your competition in Luxembourg if they come to your show?
No, they don't come to my show.
Do you go to their show?
Why would they? They have their own show.
Do you
No, I'm banned. I can't go to their shows. Yeah, yeah, that's how it is.
So tell us a bit about you're from Phoenix, Arizona. Like, how did you
Mhm.
manage to start up a comedy club all the way in Luxembourg? And like,
Well,
what
I
is it
grew up
about?
here in Luxembourg.
What is it about
So
it?
by growing up here in Luxembourg, I'm really into I'm in this country, like very much.
But what is it that made you? What was the moment that got you into comedy?
Well, I got into comedy because I was trying to impress a girl, and I started a club because I got banned by the other club after my second time doing an open mic. And so I needed stage time, and I just started organizing my own stage. Yeah.
They banned you after your second gig.
But yeah, yeah. I didn't know how to behave, apparently. I spoke to somebody who didn't want to be spoken to, and that person had a lot of power in that place. And then they kicked me out, and then I couldn't go back.
Whoa, that's a bit
That was
harsh.
the first time I was banned. Yeah, but that's just how it went. It was a Russian woman. She sounded Russian.
So Eastern European. But yeah, so I mean,
Maybe, I don't know. It was after the second open mic. I walked, it was like a downstairs thing, and then upstairs was just people sitting and drinking, but the show was downstairs. And after the show, I was really excited. Adrenaline was rushing. I went upstairs and I just started talking to the audience members. And then I talked to this one woman who was sitting next to two dudes with a suit and a tie. And I'm talking to them, chatting them up. And the woman, she looks around, she's like, "I do not want to talk to you." And I was like, "Well, you don't have to say anything. Let's just let me talk." And then she looked around at the two dudes. The two dudes looked at me. They all shook their head. They got up, they left. And then 2 minutes later, the owner came up to me and said, "You finish your beer, get out." And
oh,
that's how it was banned. That's it. That's all that
whoa,
happened.
that's pretty.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
So I don't know. It's abuse of power, if you ask me. They just didn't want to be talked to. And apparently they knew somebody in the club, and that was it.
oh, and is the Luxembourg like that? Is it like factions like East Coast, West Coast, or
Definitely, definitely. I'm West Coast for sure, and the other guys are East Coast, probably in the ocean somewhere. Like
is
I don't
there
know, like
big?
some barnacle. They're like a barnacle in the bottom of the eastern coast ocean.
Okay, so who's bigger, you or them? No, I'm joking.
No, honestly, they're probably bigger. They've been there longer, maybe 2 or 3 years longer than me. But I'm catching up real fast. Like Facebook followers and any kind of followers. My shows are better. I mean, fuck them. They've been there longer, but my shows are better. Fuck them.
Well, just oh God.
Yeah.
Okay. What is the unique thing that you have that they don't have?
I have infectious energy, and so I have a high energy show, and they're kind of stuck in this group think, and they all behave the same and they all act the same. And so I don't know. If you have six deadpan comedians, it gets boring after a while. And I rotate a lot of comedians, and high energy makes a big difference.
How many how many how many is the Luxembourg comedy scene big, or is it quite a small thing?
It's very small. Luxembourg is small. The country has 600,000 people. The city has maybe 100,000. So the scene is very small. There's 20 some local comedians that mostly do open mics, and there's three clubs. The older one, then I'm number two, and recently this year, the women comedians started their own organization.
Okay. What are the names of the clubs?
All right, so the number one competition is Luxembourg Comedy. It's five dudes that run that thing, and then I run mine alone. It's Luxembourg Laughing Out Loud, and the women have the Grand Duchess of Luxembourg Comedy Club, which is mostly open mics organized by women for women, but they always have a lot of men showing up at their shows, mostly from club number one.
Is it English is it English comedy that's mostly done in Luxembourg, or do they have is there Luxembourgish comedy as well?
There's a little bit of Luxembourgish comedy. I ventured in it 3 years ago with some dude who's on the other team now, and then we had Falling Apart, and so he does a couple of Luxembourgish shows sometimes with the other club, and I've just stuck to English. I don't do Luxembourgish anymore. It's a rare thing, Luxembourgish shows in Luxembourgish, uh, but it does have traction. It attracts people. Now the talent is pretty weak because everybody's a beginner,
Hmm.
and it just doesn't exist that long. So it really everybody's a beginner.
What's the how does the humor differ with Luxembourgish and English comedy?
Uh, Humor is humor. If it's funny, if it makes people laugh, it makes people laugh. Now, obviously, there's going to be some language things. So I guess the main difference would be word games are probably different. You know, Anything that's language based is different. But for the rest, the humor is, humor. Comedy is comedy. It has the same recipes. You still need premises and punchlines, sarcasm, analogies. All of that stays the same. Just language, word games change.
Okay, I was just seeing if there's a different sense of humor, like in terms of the style or the. Okay, cool. What have you? So you're originally. Oh, my video's frozen again.
So it did freeze.
It that on that occasion it did.
I probably froze earlier too, man. Now that this froze and you said again, so I'm maybe it did freeze earlier.
Who knows? But so you came from America and you've been in Luxembourg now. Like, how has that sort of shaped you coming in from a different culture and then adjusting to Luxembourg?
Well, as a kid, I was 5 years old when I came here, so I don't really remember growing up in America. I'm really much more Luxembourgish than I'm American.
Okay.
And yeah, if I go back to America, like I'm not really Luxembourgish, I'm not really American. Like here, obviously, I'm not a real Luxembourger. My English is much better than theirs. And when I go back to America, to you, I might sound American, but in America, they hear the euro immediately. And I get called euro trash pretty regularly.
Oh, okay. You're trash. You. Yeah. It's whenever
Yep.
it's a lot of people that I come across that speak English pretty well from other countries, they always seem to
Mm.
adopt the American way of speaking more so than the English. But it's all obviously because of the American programs and all that. But I'd like to hear more English, sort of. I'd like to see that
Oh,
more.
but American is the better English. I don't know why you would want that. American is definitely the better English.
Nah, English. Come on. Ask Steve Hilly.
All right. Yeah, he sounds like a Brit.
Well, he's I mean he's technically Maltese, isn't he? And Maltese
Yeah, yeah,
British.
he is. Yeah,
He spent a lot of time in.
but he sounds more British than you do.
Does he? I'll ask him if I see him.
All right.
um. So who are your sort of heroes in comedy, and who inspired you to do comedy in Luxembourg?
I like middle-aged comedians a lot, mostly middle-aged men comedians, because that's the age class I find myself in. So, yeah, Tom Papa, Jim Gaffigan, you know, probably they'd call them the older generation. You know, Jim Jeffries, Louis C.K., dead people, Richard Pryor, uh, that political guy, George Carlin, you know, Lenny Bruce.
Mm. And with Luxembourg itself, I mean, you say it's an international city, but what are surprises that people from outside are often surprised by when they come into Luxembourg? What are special treats that people need to know about Luxembourg?
We have free public transport. People love that. And it's just really pretty and cute and clean. It's just nice. Everything works. Government works. You know, the transport is on time most of the time. And everything is really close. People know each other. There's quite a nightlife going on that you wouldn't expect from such a small place. Yeah, that's probably it's rich. We have money. Yeah. So yeah, with the government stuff, you know, that the government works and transport works, that's probably a surprise to you guys in England. Uh,
It is to a degree, yes, 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 yeah. It's a big. Could we swap? Could we swap? Can we swap?
I'm not swapping.
But
I'm keeping
what's
this
a
to
unique
myself.
Luxembourg dish? What's a unique Luxembourg dish food that
Some nasty blood sausage.
the blood
There's blood
sausage?
sausage.
What?
Yeah, blood sausage. They call it trijpen. And it's really blood sausage. They mix blood with red cabbage and then you fry it on the pan. Blood sausage is one and lentil soup.
Okay, that's
Yeah, there's
right.
not much Luxembourgish past stuff going on. Then they have this dish called jute met bonen, which is essentially a ham with green beans in a soup,
Mm.
but its literal translation, and I did not invent this. This is the literal translation of the soup. It means Jew with beans. Yeah, yeah. So the ham apparently is the Jew, and fuck man, it's yeah, it is what it is. But yeah, it's called that Judd, Judd, like Judd Apatow.
Does it taste good though?
It's ham. It's just ham. It's salty pink ham in a soup. It's just ham. It's not specially, I don't know. It's not like pasta. Like if you look at it, you'd be like, that could be from anywhere. And it could be. Just ham. Jewish ham.
And how has being like a booker and a comedian helped you?
What? I didn't hear you.
How how has being a so with Luxembourg being quite an international city, having
Yeah.
some unique dishes, but how has running an international comedy club as a booker and performer helped you?
Help me personally.
Yeah.
Uh well, it's a hobby. I do it for fun. So it's helped me in that it gives me something to do instead of just jerking off all day. I can organize a show. I'm pretty good at organizing. So organizing shows is fun. So that helps me, it stops me from jerking off a lot. Then, just the regular stuff when you're on stage, public speaking gets better, confidence boosts, a lot of networking opportunities. booking shows has helped me get access to do shows in other countries. So my network, like I know enough people in pretty much every country here in Europe now. If I want to go do a show there, I can just call them up and be like, "Hey, when's your next open mic? When's your next gig? Can I open?" And then I can go to places.
Hmm.
So it is very much a small community, the comedy community. It's pretty small, and yeah, people know each other, and favors are shared. We exchange favors.
No, that sounds dodgy. We exchange favors. That sounds like,
Not
oh,
really. I don't
I'm
know.
gonna, I'm gonna
Only
give,
if you
I'm
have a
gonna give
dodgy
you.
mind.
It sounds like, oh, I'm gonna give you some drugs here and there. I'll
Yeah.
get you some drugs over here.
Yeah, that's how the world works. What's wrong with that? There's nothing dodgy about that. That's how the world works, you know? Like I give my girlfriend a nice dinner, you know, and then we end up in bed, or I don't know, favors are exchanged. That's a normal thing. That's not dodgy. You have to exchange favors with people.
No,
That's just
you the way you said favors are exchanged. It sounded like you're some sort of dealer or something. Like, yo, you're gonna sort me out here. What? You're gonna sort me out here. Sounds.
oh, well, maybe I'll channel that character for another show. I'll be the dealer. Hey, you want to exchange some favors, man? You know, one hand washes the other. Blood is thicker than mud.
That's a very is that Tony Soprano or are you trying to be Tony Montana? Which is it?
I'm not trying to be anyone. I was just it could be, I don't know, some mafia accent, but I wasn't thinking about neither Tony. And my brother regularly says blood is thicker than mud. He's Mexican. So I probably should be more like blood is thicker than mud, ese, you know.
And what do you find when you're looking for? So you mentioned a bit earlier when you're booking your shows, you try and mix different energies, you try and mix different kind of styles. But what is it you look for in particular when you're booking acts? And what do you think the key is to a good comedy show?
All right. Well, the key to a good
Apart from
comedy
what's
show
obvious,
is the comedian. Huh?
apart from people being funny.
Yeah, I like friendly comedians. So I've met enough comedians to know that I want to say 90% are friendly and you can work with them. And then there is probably less than 90. And then there's like a percentage of comedians that are just fucking dicks. And I don't want to work with them. But you find out real fast who's a dick, you know, like whether they, you know, talk shit behind you or whether, you know, I don't know. You find out fast. I don't know. So yeah, dude, if the comedians are friendly, then I'm glad to have them back. And that's important, you know. Don't be a backstabber. That's important.
Yeah. But
Yeah. So definitely two camps, the friendlies and the not friendlies. And they know each other, you know. You find out real fast who's in which circle.
yeah, we talk a lot as comics, don't we? We really do.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a small community, you know. Everybody talks about everybody. Everybody knows each other. This is my girlfriend. Let me just very quick. Sorry. Ciao, come va? Buongiorno. Bene. Did you silence that?
I did, yes.
What the fuck did you think I was going to say?
Are you threatening
She's
me
like,
now?
hey baby, you gonna come and suck my schlong now? Yeah, it's gonna be awesome. No, it's just like, come on over.
Well, I don't know. It's not something that I wanted to include in the podcast.
Fair enough, fair enough. You're the producer. You do what you want. Be a man. Do it. Right. Good.
But, yeah. But is there anything that you look for in sort of styles or anything to put on a good show? You mentioned that you're good at.
No. Yeah, no, I don't look for particular styles. If you're a comedian, I'll let you talk about anything. You can say whatever the fuck you want. And if after that I don't like it, then I'll probably just won't invite you back. That's it. But I don't give I'm not very strict. I really leave comedians. To me, this is the last bastion of free speech. So I just really let the comedian say whatever the fuck he wants to say. You know, I don't have any limits. You can't say this, you can't say that. But if he says it and the reaction is bad, or she, then I won't have him back. So far, all the shows I've done, there's maybe two that I don't want to have back. That's it. So most of them are legit cool.
Is what do you make of the whole thing that's going on about moment in terms of cancel culture, in terms of comedians canceling other comics, in terms of people getting sensitive? In Malaysia, like with Reza Van Gazel,
Yeah,
in his Crack House Comedy Club, he invited a few people doing open mic, and they did some. She was wearing a sari. She took it off and she started stripping.
yeah,
Not only did her and her
yeah,
boyfriend get arrested, but the club owners of Crack House got
yeah,
arrested, and now that comedy club is closed down.
yeah. So she was like a sexual terrorist.
I think that was the angle she was
That's not
playing.
stand.
I
Yeah,
don't.
but that's not stand up. If
It
you
wasn't,
start
no.
taking off your clothes, I wouldn't say it. Yeah. So you're saying he made a mistake for not vetting her?
No, I'm not saying anything. Well, I mean, you're saying it's not stand up.
No.
I don't know about that. I mean, it's there's lots of different kinds of stand up, but I mean, what she did was a bit. I don't know. I mean, that sort of thing. That's just. I mean, Malaysia is a
Well,
very
if it's
Muslim country.
forbidden, if it's forbidden, so I guess Malaysia has like really strict rules. You can't be naked in public, and you can't allow nudity in public.
I think the
And
biggest
so
thing.
she did something illegal. It's like she did something illegal, and then he was there when she did something illegal. People freaked out. That's like if I had a show here. Like people don't care about nudity here, but if somebody get on stage and you start smoking crack, then obviously, right, he's going to shock some people. And so it was illegal, if I get it right, in Malaysia.
Yeah, but I mean, it was in his open mic show. So he
Yeah.
open mics as well. You don't know what people are going to do before they do it on stage sometimes, and so
Yeah.
I don't think he was really
Maybe,
at fault
yeah,
for it.
maybe in Malaysia, this,
I don't think. I
maybe in
think him.
Malaysia, I don't know. There's a lot of people. See, here when we have open mics, first of all, I don't run any open mics anymore. But if somebody else runs an open mic, you know, people kind of know each other. You know, people who do the open mics, they've been in the show two, three times. And I wouldn't fear that. I don't think there's anything anybody could say here to be canceled. You have to be big to be canceled. You know, if you're just some small time open micer going from, I don't know, city to city, nobody's going to cancel you because nobody's going to remember you. Cancel culture really only applies to big names. It doesn't apply to small names. Uh, like as cancel culture is, you know, portrayed in the media.
But what do you make of it as a whole? What do you think as the sort of limit and when people should be cancelled? You mentioned it being illegal, but what do you feel are examples where it's gone too far that you've seen?
I haven't seen any stand-up comedy ever go too far. Uh, it is it's comedy. You're supposed to be able to say whatever you want, and you got to make it funny. That's what changes it from comedy to, you know, some bullshit. If it's funny and people laugh and the people decide if it's funny, then it's funny. If it's not for everybody, then you just shouldn't go there. If you don't like Jim Jeffries because he fucking shits on Australians, then you should probably not go there, you know. Like I don't like tacos, you know. Why would I go to a taco shop and eat some tacos? I think it's really the public's thing.
So
Like if they don't like something, they shouldn't go.
there's been a couple of occasions that have happened in the UK where that I know of where it's been cancelled recently. So there's a comedian called Adam Riley. He's sort of I'd say close to being a semi-pro comic, and
Yeah,
he said something that was a little bit transphobic, or could be.
yeah.
So I can show you a bit of the article if you want. Let me know your thoughts on it.
No, no. Do I want to see that?
No,
All right. Let's see it. All right.
but it's this is what happened to him. And then there was a thing with what's his face, Jerry Sadowitz. So he he's a very good comic. I'd say he's very good. But so this is the joke he said.
Yeah. Oh, that's funny. I don't know.
He said
I,
that,
I
right?
don't know, man. Yeah, I'll probably be canceled if that gets canceled. I'll probably be canceled. I don't know, man. Like personally, I don't do any jokes of stuff that I don't know about, you know. So I would never do that joke myself just because I don't know about it. I didn't think it was that bad. I don't know.
But the thing
If
that
you
he,
don't like it, you know, you should go. Like who goes to a show like just waiting, you know, like, oh, let me wait for them to get, you know, say something stupid and then we can cancel them. First of all, I've never heard of Adam Riley, you know. So if Adam Riley is canceled in London, well, you should just go to a different city, you know, maybe not do that joke again. I mean, comedy happens worldwide. It's not just in one city. You know, if you're really serious about something, that I would call that a slip up, you know. All right, it was a transphobic joke. You know, somebody tells him, hey, it was a transphobic joke. You know, in the best case scenario, he'd be like, you know what? Maybe that was fucked up. You know, maybe I'll just leave it. Or if enough people react badly, you know, you got to give people a chance to fucking, you know, mend fences. You know, I don't know. Any other job, if you make a mistake, you're like a forklift guy and you're like driving around the forklift and then you fuck up, right? And the shit on the forklift falls and everything breaks. It costs, I don't know, a couple $1,000s, right? But you're not going to fire the guy because he fucked up, right? You're going to say, you know, that was fucked up. You know, you need some better training. Let's train you a little bit better, you know, but you don't destroy his job because of something like that. In a good case scenario, obviously the world is not a fair place and bad shit happens, but most places this would not happen. And comedy, and if you're a pro, if you're making money, it's a job. If you make a mistake, you should be able to, you know, fix the mistake. You know, it's not a zero sum game. It's not like, yeah, if you know, banned to hell forever. I mean, how bad does it have to be? You know, if it's illegal, I guess, you know, if you're in Germany and you start talking about Hitler, then you're doing something illegally, you know. And I don't know. People should be able to make mistakes. That's normal. It's normal to make mistakes. You should be able to make a mistake. And if you do, and you know you can fix it, and you feel sorry about it, you know, then good. And if you don't want to be apologetic about it, then you should just find a different scene where you can say this stuff.
hmm, that's smart. But that's what's happened to him, and he's. But Louis C.K. managed to sort of, I think I mean he's after that fiddling thing that he did. I mean he got he did what he gigged a lot in European countries, didn't he? And then now he's come back, and it seems like all is doesn't seem that all is forgotten, but it seems to be he's back more or less where he was.
But that's the thing, cancel culture. Cancel culture, you can't impose that on anybody, you know? Like, what does cancel culture do? They, you know, write articles, you know, they publicize somebody's really bad behavior. And then what's the best outcome? You know, the guys are going to be shunned in the street. Maybe, you know, people are not going to like them. It's just like a social manipulative tactic, not unlike any other interaction that you'd have at a job or any club. And so you just try to like turn people against them and then, you know, make people not go to their show. And then what Louis C.K. did was, let's trust the audience and not the criticizers. And he just went and organized his own shows. And you can buy his shows on his own website. And that's it's a very good move. I don't think he's the only one who does stuff like that, but it's a good move. And I think a lot of promoters get that too. You know, like I do shows here in Luxembourg for comedians, but some comedians, they're like, well, fuck, I could do that myself. And they can. And so they just, you know, come to the country, they find a venue, they book it, and then they bring their comedians for one night, they do a show, and then they go back to somewhere else. I'm not going to forbid them to do that. You know, just do your own show somewhere else. You know, you can only be canceled if you depend on somebody to put you on stage. It's like I was canceled from the other comedy club, right? I was canceled. Okay, banned, canceled. What's the difference? Same thing. You know, I couldn't go back, right? They were like cutting my legs off. Well, if they're not going to give me my legs, I'm going to find legs somewhere else. And that's what Louis C.K. did, you know. Like cancel culture, it's yeah, I don't think it's a social thing. You know, people decide you suck and we never want to see you again, and you suck so much that nobody should ever see you again. And and then they try that power move because whatever they feel that they have that power in masses. It's a power game.
Yeah, it is
You
mostly.
don't have to respond to it. You can just extract yourself from the game and just go play somewhere else. It's the world is a big playground, and there's enough room for everybody. Anybody can do anything. So if they don't want you at their show at Top Secret, let's say you're canceled and then this Riley guy can't go back to Top Secret, well, he can find his own venue. He can start his own shows. And if people are really upset and they don't go to his shows and he does 3 shows and nobody shows, okay, there's something not working. He needs to fix his formula. But if he puts on his own show and he puts on himself as a headliner and then he invites some other comedians that have not canceled him, all he has to do is put on his own show. You don't need other people to put on a show.
No,
You don't need
no.
promoters. You don't need club. I mean, the big names, they're not going to like that. But the venues, you don't need venues. You could find a cafe somewhere.
Yeah.
Just find somebody who needs some people, and you could start a show anywhere. As long as you're funny, because then you want people to come back.
Oh
You
yeah,
don't need
that's
any. You can't
definitely.
be canceled if you're independent. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. But that's what social media's done. That's what the pandemic sort of done. A lot of comedians sort of woke up to it and decided, right, I'll create my own following.
Yeah, yeah, and that's good. That's good. There should be more of that. And stand-up comedy allows that. Other things like if you want to start your own bank, you can't do that. There's regulations that have been put on to keep the ones in power. But in comedy, that doesn't exist. There is no regulation that's going to keep Mitzi Shore in power, Bud Friedman, the late Bud Friedman, late Mitzi Shore, I believe, as well.
Yeah.
Um, so there's yeah, it comes down to power in the end. Like who really wants it? I guess if you really want it, you can't be canceled.
Wow, just yeah. What? So one of the things that you mentioned just before this bit here, you said that comedy is the last bastion of free speech. What makes you say that as opposed to other arts like music or acting or yes, anything else? Why would you say it's the last bastion of free speech?
Well, as in acting or theater, you I mean, you're free to express yourself, right? But you're not really giving your own opinion. I don't know, maybe the producer of the theater piece, or maybe the script writer, maybe he's expressing his free speech, but the actor on stage, he's just following orders. Whereas in comedy, you're the decider of what you say, of what your opinion is. Comedy is a lot about being opinionated, and you're allowed to say your opinion in a funny way, but you're completely free. There's no rules. Anyway, that's how I see it. That's how it should be. You could say whatever the fuck you want as long as it's funny. And I don't see that freedom in music. I don't see that freedom in theater. I mean, sure, it is creative expression, uh, but yeah, I don't know. It's not free speech. I don't see this similar.
But with a singer and songwriter, if they build up their own following, they write their own songs, aren't they free as well? If they're not having anyone interfere with it, they're just writing their own songs, it's themselves, their own opinions, or even poetry.
Yeah, yeah, sure, and still, I don't know. So, I mean, sure, you can argue it. I don't know. Comedy to me is the last bastion of free speech. I don't. I think it offers opportunities that other arts don't. Um,
Okay.
that's just my opinion.
Yeah, no worries. And what is your thoughts on like other types of comedy, like musical comedy, clowny comedy, like props, magic comedians? Because you're
Yeah,
focused
sure.
more,
It could be funny. Sure could be funny. It's not stand-up.
but you don't
Yeah. I
classify
wouldn't
it.
have him at my stand-up show. Yeah, I don't like props. I don't think props are necessary. Stand-up is somebody stands up and talks. And
Okay.
then with his talking, he rouses the public. As soon as you start using props or you play music, it's still comedy, but it's not stand-up. It's prop comedy or musical comedy. And I think you prefaced that right.
Okay. So with Bo Burnham, you would classify that more as comedy rather than stand up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and good on him, you know. I didn't like it, but a lot of people did. Good on him, you know. I don't really compare myself. I good for him, you know. Something worked for him. It's good.
Yeah, I so one thing that I've found in like there are comics on the London circuit that are very sort of strict on certain things. Like if you say things offensive, they're really against it. And there's some that are very
Yeah.
into comedy being a certain way. And people who believe comedy being a certain way are very strict on it. And they're very forthright
Yeah.
against it. Like if comedy's not that way, they're like, that's nothing. That's stupid. That's this or that. Like, I know one comic who's quite
Yeah,
a good friend.
I would say they're wrong. They're absolutely wrong. It reminds me of Christians, Christians who say, you know, I mean, in the Bible, the scripture says, you know, you shouldn't kill under any circumstances. And then Christians, you know, and I'm talking about not the people, but I'm talking about the institutions, and the institutions are like, well, you know, to wage war in a different country, then it's okay to not follow the followings of Jesus, you know, and then it's okay to kill. And so you know they it's just hypocritical, you know. I think a person who says the comedy has to be a certain way and only this way, otherwise it's not comedy, I think they're fucking they're intruders, you know. They're trying to, I don't know, set rules on something that shouldn't have any rules. They're imposters. They shouldn't be in comedy. Straight
What?
up, they shouldn't be in comedy. Like it's the antithesis of comedy to say that, oh, you can't do this, you can't do that. That's the antithesis of comedy. So if you're the guy who says that, or if you're the woman who says that, then you shouldn't be in comedy at all. No.
Can I
Now
show
fuck
you?
those guys.
Cool. That's a good message. Can I show you something a little bit quickly before we, just a little clip. He's a good friend of mine. He's absolutely brilliant. Um, but he is a very unique stand-up, and there's not really anyone like him on the circuit. So this is him here.
Hello, everybody. So the summer is coming, and it's getting warm outside, and I like the warm weather because it makes me warmer.
You Hungarian?
That's my
No,
warm
Latvian.
joke.
Latvian.
Are you asking me to sit down? Is everybody warm? Yeah, you warm? Yeah, good. How many degrees? No, it's actually 37. You know, I haven't stalked you, I just know human biology. Ladies. Okay, moving on. And that's my cow joke. Because cows say...
All right, so what's your point? He's funny. What's up?
But I mean, because he does a little bit here where he plays with his.
Straight guy sing. I'm a straight guy.
But he does a bit of musical comedy
Yeah, this is how
where he
Yeah.
plays
straight and who
a
is
song
not.
on his iPhone.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah, I don't know.
he does a
I
bit
would-
of both. Like he does a bit of that, and he does a bit of. So I mean, is that would you classify Gats Candice as a stand-up?
I think it's on the edge. I think he's just barely putting the toe into the waters of not stand up. I see stand-up comedians that a lot of times they take their phones and they say, I received this message. It's a real message. I received this message, and then they end up reading these messages that are fucking hilarious. And I've seen big stand-ups do that as well. It's not my cup of tea. Now, I've had comedians on my stage who've played guitar and pulled out phones and it's not my personal brand of stand-up comedy. They did it and it's fine. It was funny, and I think they're just dipping their toes into the non-stand-up comedy. I mean, it's kind of ridiculous to even categorize, the different. I find that the whole categorization is kind of stupid. Maybe necessary. Yeah, I won't forbid it, but in my mind, I will say that's not really stand-up. It's prop comedy. Who was the old guy, the old generation? Steve Martin, right? He did a lot of prop comedy in the early days. I wouldn't say it's stand-up comedy. Could have been funny, I think what brings it all together really is comedy. It should be funny. Let's make things funny. Things are ridiculous. Let's make them funny. And if you get technical, then you start dividing it up into categories. And you're like, well, stand up, and this prop. And there's people that mix it. And I guess Bo Burnham was one of those. He started mixing this stuff. Sure. Yeah, good. He liked it. He liked what he did. That's the most important thing. As an artist, you have to like what you're doing. That's enough. But you shouldn't listen to me or listen to any other promoter. Oh, you can't do this, you can't do that. Just go out there, express yourself, explore yourself, do something that you are going to look back at and like, which is not easy in stand-up comedy because we get bored with our material pretty fast.
But there's so many comics in the UK or in the big pro scenes where they do the same 20 for quite a while because it pays them. So it's again the question of like creativity and fun and doing what you enjoy, but also a lot of the time, sometimes they make that sacrifice to stick with the 20 they've been doing for 10 years because it.
Doing stand-up and monetizing stand-up is not easy. It is not easy. And then I guess if you know your 20 minutes work, then you don't want to give up on those 20 minutes because they give you a paycheck. And if you depend on the paycheck, then you will have less courage to leave that 20 minutes and to start new stuff. It's a difficult balancing act to balance learning new stuff and giving up your old stuff or doing the tried and true. It's not easy for sure. Yeah. I think that if you've been doing the same set for 10 years, maybe you're just not wired to learn new stuff, or maybe you're not wired to be a risk taker. You have to, especially in stand-up, like the world moves, it has to be current. You can't do old stuff. It just doesn't ring the same. I think stand-up requires for you to constantly work on new stuff. If you don't do that, you're in a rut. I would say you're in a rut. Then you got stuck in a vicious circle and you can't get out. And that's not good. But when you're in it, you probably don't notice it. I think the big winners are going to be those that keep writing new stuff, keep trying new stuff, aren't scared to bomb just because of a paycheck. But yeah, if your paycheck depends on comedy, I think it makes it much more difficult than if you have a regular job and you just do comedy on the side where every now and then you earn some money on gigs. Like the difference between a pro and a semi-pro are huge. They're huge.
Now, and what Mount Everest to Mount Kilimanjaro? comparison, or to like Shaq to Tyrion Lannister?
Wait, what?
No, I'm saying how huge, like Shaquille O'Neal to Tyrion Lannister, or like Mount Kilimanjaro to Mount Everest, sort of difference.
Probably Shaq to dwarf.
Okay.
Is he a dwarf? A midget? What do you call him? I don't know.
Yeah, that's the correct term. Now, for anyone that's listening right now and they want to find out about you, what's the best way to find out about you?
Best way to find out about me is over social media, Facebook and Instagram. I run a comedy club called Luxembourg Laughing Out Loud, LLOL. And on Instagram, it's LLOL__stand-up_comedy.
Right, guys, you know where to go if you've liked him. If you like Carlitos' way.
You didn't like me. They didn't. I already know. They didn't like me. Don't like me. Don't like me. Don't waste your time. Fucking 27 subscribers. Fuck off.
There's more on the audio side.
All right, dude. I'm just kidding.
I know. Hope you've enjoyed it. If you like it, share it with your friends. Subscribe. If you didn't, be quiet about it, guys.
Cool, man. Hey, it was fun. Thank you, man.